Should the Nets fear the Sixers in the East?
No, can't fear the Sixers when you're a Brooklyn Net. Look at this team, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, one, is pretty hard to imagine it because we haven't seen them as a collective play just yet. But I'm going to just say some names to you, and you just start thinking about how this is going to look on a basketball court. Kevin Durant, best player in the game. Kyrie Irving, most skilled player maybe ever. Now you start looking at them and say, Ben Simmons, and you're like, oh, well, he can't shoot, but we don't want you to shoot, Ben Simmons. We want you to just give us pace. Be a part of our transition defense and offense. Pass the ball to those open players and open shooters that include a Steph Curry, that includes a LaMarcus Aldridge. Oh, that's a squad. But everyone's going to push back, and I get why you're going to push back, because you see Joel Embiid and you see James Harden. And I am not going to slight that dynamic duo. And also Tyrese Maxey, who's averaging 24, 25 points a game since James Harden's been there. You got to love and know it's Maxey. You got to respect him, too. All three of those guys look great together, except one thing, if you really want to dive into the details. What happens in the playoffs when you watch NBA basketball? I know one thing that happens every single time is that the officials start to swallow their whistle. And then I start looking at the stat line of Embiid and Harden. And look, it's a 2-game sample size, so I'm not trying to stress this. But I noticed that there are 40 free throw attempts for Embiid and 19 for Harden. That looks cute until it's playoff time. And then all of a sudden, we're going to see what happened to Harden at the beginning of this season happen in the postseason. Oh, that ain't going to work, homeboy. And then Joel Embiid with his 40 free throw attempts. What are you guys going to do when the officials take away plan A? All I want to know is if they can't match up with the team in Brooklyn in terms of talent, because they're going to run 2 guys out there, maybe a third. Brooklyn's running 4, maybe a 5 out there and say, good luck dealing with this super team that we have. So, no, if I'm on the Brooklyn Nets, I'm looking at the Sixers like, real squad. Congrats. I see the bump and improvement, but y'all can't see us, especially when the officials start swallowing their whistle.
See, this is what gives TV and sports talk in particular a bad name. When we do things like this. Should anybody fear the 76ers at this point? No, not the Nets, not anyone. I'm sorry. We've played 2 games. They've played against the play-in Minnesota Timberwolves in the West, and they've played against the, 12th place New York Knicks in the East. Those are 2 mediocre defensive teams, and yes, the 76ers have eaten well. Does Joel Embiid and James Harden, do they make a dynamic duo? Absolutely. Yep. And is everybody excited? Sure, because they're out from under the cloud of what's up with Ben Simmons and playing without that guy out there that no longer wants to play with us. Now we got a guy in James Harden who can't wait to play with us, or at least he can't wait to play with us for right now. We know how it goes in the long term. But I look at where they are overall. 14th ranked offensively. I believe that will go up, obviously, with the addition of Harden. 10th ranked defensively. And I look at the Eastern Conference. The Miami Heat are ranked higher in both categories. The Bucks are ranked higher offensively. So are the Bulls. So are the Cavs. Cavs defensively. I take that back. Cavs are ranked higher defensively. The 76ers have the Cavs, the Nets, the Bulls, and at least one other top team coming up that they're going to play in the next week or so. So could we just hold on for a second before we say that anybody, Nets or anyone else, should fear the 76ers at this point?
Yeah.
Of course they're all excited. Of course they're playing well together. That's how it always starts. This is a long run. Respect them all you want for the talent that they have. Fear them based on what?
What?
I'm sorry, is Ben Simmons back? Is he playing? Is Kyrie allowed in home games yet?
Not yet.
Is KD healthy? Who are we talking about?
Not yet.
Are we talking about the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah,
yes, they should fear the Sixers. Of course they should.
Yeah, we're just talking about Kyrie Irving, basically.
We shouldn't even talk about the Sixers. Why are we stopping at this? Why are we stopping at the Sixers? They should be afraid of the Heat.
Should Kyrie fear them?
They should be afraid of the Bucks.
Right.
They should be afraid of all the top teams in the East. Listen, I am very sad that this Nets experiment did not work out. I was all in on the Stars. I bought it. I was here for it. Didn't work. I think that the Sixers immediately won this trade, and we are seeing the results of Harden, a happy, healthy Harden in Philadelphia. Is it a small sample size? Yes. Okay. But even without him, even without Harden, you have to take the Sixers seriously. The Nets have to get Ben Simmons on the floor. He's not even out there yet. Now we're talking about a back injury. Kyrie can only play half the games. Yes, of course they should. There are a lot of moving parts that the Nets have to work together to get in place. Ben Simmons hasn't played in a basketball game in 8 months. Yes, they should be afraid of the Sixers. They should be afraid of the Heat. They should be afraid of the Bulls. They should be afraid of the Bucks. This is real. They are not where they need to be going into the postseason. I love KD. He is one of my favorite players of all time. He very much, when healthy, the best player in the game right now, up there with Giannis and, yes, still LeBron. This is a real conversation about what the Nets are going to be able to do in the postseason. They should absolutely be afraid of the Sixers, even though it is a small sample size. You're right. We should probably give them a little more time to see how it plays out. But Joel Embiid was putting together an MVP-level season anyway. So, yes, they should be afraid of the Sixers.
Yeah, I'm with you now, Slick. I didn't think that after my take that it was the time for you to say this is what's wrong with sports media. But now after hearing my take and Joy's take, now I know this is the time to say this is what's wrong with sports media. We got to be able to project. We got to be able to forecast. We can't just sit here and say they ain't playing, so they ain't going to be good. Okay, let's just level the playing field. But I'm with you, Joy, because you stand in reality, and I'm not. I'm going to where I know this is going to meet reality.
I like to live here. This is here. Be here now.
But you also got a calendar. You got a plan. If I checked your phone right now, you planned the trip in a month or two or something. I have lots of plans coming up.
But I also have to plan for the fact that Ben Simmons hasn't played a basketball game in 8 months.
Yeah, but look, let's be real. Well, let me be real, because I don't want anybody else to get caught up in this. Nothing was wrong with Ben Simmons mentally. He just had to use that as a means to an end, and it serviced him well because he got out of Philadelphia. Just like nothing wrong with his back. That's what every player does when they don't want to go out there right now. They got to get their legs under them, and they want the organization and the coaches to support them. While the fans, I need y'all to hush. Something's wrong with my back. Or we say, hey, we got general soreness. Look, Ben Simmons is going to be available when they need him most, heading into the postseason with fresh legs, too. My God, 6'10", with that pace and speed, ball handling, passing it out to shooters left and right. It's going to be insane right now. And I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets without KD, without Ben Simmons, just beating the Milwaukee Bucks, the champion Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, they did that. And you trying to tell me now we need to fear the Sixers when the champions need to fear us? If you want to go back to the roster they had last year, we know they were just a big toe away from actually winning that series. And now, without KD, without Simmons, they still go out there and beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Y'all need to stop. Here's the thing. I love Joy. She's pumped on the Sixers trade. They won that immediately because that's the short term. And you gave me the Triple H, happy, healthy Harden. Like, that's going to last. Like, one of them going to give. I don't know if it's the health or the happiness, but certainly it ain't going to stay Triple H for the entire part of this season. Let me remind y'all who the Sixers are, despite all them free throw attempts that's inflating their numbers. Worst offensive rebounding team in the league, second worst rebounding team in the league, and 27th in three-pointers made. You get into the postseason, those refs swallow that whistle. You got to kick it out for distance because we're going to now hack. We're going to clog this paint. It's going to get more physical. This team ain't set up for that right now. Now, looking at the Brooklyn Nets, I know I'm talking in imagination. I'm talking fantasy land to you, Joy. But can we just map our reality onto our future plans and see how that looks and discusses that? What does that say?
That says fantasy.
Fantasy?
That's what I wrote.
I like it.
As I'm listening to you. Fantasy.
So fantasy. I don't know. I got to stay in that place. Slick, help her out.
Well, no, I'm going to help you out, Marcellus. Most amazing thing about James Harden, by the way, is the fact that he had a hamstring injury he couldn't play on and looked about 20 pounds overweight. And lo and behold, a week later, he's jetting up and down the floor and looking like Slim Jim. Very, very impressive turnaround, and it's not the first time he's done it. I don't know how he does it, man, but it is impressive.
Yeah, Joy.
But all that said, you are talking about, Joy's talking about the right here and now, in the presence. And yes, Sixers have all their pieces. They're gung-ho. The Brooklyn Nets do not. But this is not just about the present.
Yeah.
This is about where these teams can go with their superstars. And I dare say that the 76ers better get it done now rather than later because they have to re-sign James Harden. And the expectation is that they're going to sign him to a mega contract, which is going to prevent them from being able to add or do anything else with their team. Nets don't have that concern. Yes, they still have to get Ben Simmons back. Yes, they need to get KD on the floor. Yes, they need to get Kyrie past the vaccine mandate and playing every game. They need to do all that. But if they don't do it this season, there's nothing that's going to stop them from going forward with the group that they have. Their runway is a lot longer than the right now. So it's okay, Marcellus, for you to fantasize about what Ben and Kyrie and KD could potentially be, because what we know about fantasies are that they don't always immediately come true. They just eventually can become reality. And the possibility of that fantasy becoming reality, there's a lot more time for that than there is for this 76ers team to get it done. In fact, it kind of works in the reverse. This better be their reality and better be it right now, because we know how James Harden feels once things get a little tough or it's not ideal. And we know Joel Embiid's injury history and his ability to sustain his effort through an entire season. And so when I put all that together, Marcellus has a lot more room for the Nets to become what he envisions them to be than the 76ers do. This may be as good as they get because of the history of the two key players involved with the 76ers.
My bad. I thought we were talking about this season.
Right now.
Everything I said out. If we're talking about next season, I'm talking about this season. This season, right now, currently that we're in, with the situation that both these teams are in right now, not next year. There's 20 games left. We don't know when Ben Simmons is coming back. He's not in basketball shape.
Okay.
We have no idea when he's coming back.
But is that reason for them to fear?
Yeah.
Joy, is that reason for them to fear
this
the 76ers?
year, right now, yes. KD is not healthy. What are you talking about? They're 8-17 this year without KD.
Yeah.
They're not a winning team without. It's okay to win a regular season game. They're 8-17. We're talking about sample sizes. Are we talking about next year? Or are we talking about this year? This year, yes, absolutely. The Nets are not complete right now. There's 20 games basically left in the season. So you got to get Ben Simmons out there, get him healthy, get him confident, feeling good, working within this system and this team. He's not a player that you can just plug and play wherever. He plays a very specific type of game. So, yes, this year, right now, this season, if that's what we're talking about. We're talking about next season, whatever. I don't even know if Harden's going to be there next year. I'm talking about right now, this season.
Joy, Celis is in fantasy land right now. Don't disturb him.
Yeah. I love playing. We can play fantasy basketball all day long. That's what we're doing.
I mean, look, I'm going to wake up in 20 games, and it's going to be the playoffs, and this is going to look completely different.
You're telling me Ben Simmons is healthy and out there playing full-time every single game, working within this system. KD is healthy on the floor every single game, and Kyrie isn't still dealing with vaccine mandates in New York City? Sure. You got Kevin Durant. Yes, absolutely. I'm into that. But that's not what I'm dealing with or even projecting is going to happen at this point because we don't even have a slightest answer about when Ben Simmons is going to be available to play, let alone play the amount of minutes he needs to play to contribute to this team in the postseason.
We don't know that, but there's two ways to approach that.
Yeah.
I can be fearful that it's not going to happen, or I'm going to be confident that when it does, it's going to be something significant.
Based off of history, so we got history, we got the present.
We're going to use Harden's history? We're going to use Embiid's history?
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, we can use that history any way we want.
I haven't seen Ben Simmons play a game in 8 months. And the last one that we saw
most recently, I haven't seen Joel Embiid sustain his greatness through the playoffs.
Oh.
I'm not saying the Sixers are going to win a championship. You asked me if the Nets should be afraid of them, and I think they should.
Well, look, I think we're coming from different vantage points, and you're not going to wake me up from my fantasy and tell me to stop dreaming, damn it, because my dreams become reality. And it's just like when I went to Columbia. Here's another story. A lot of people didn't see it coming that I was going to actually try to live the best of both worlds, which is pursue my academics as well as not compromise my athletics, and I got the best of both worlds. But let me tell you what's funny. Sometimes when people don't see it coming, they look back and be like, oh, they think you're an overnight sensation, when in reality, it takes forever to become an overnight sensation. A lot of work. So, takes me back to my high school days when I used to watch all the dudes in my class, and I was like, damn, they cashing out too early. We all know what that looks like, right? When you're cashing out for the cars, the clothes, and the cuties. And I'm like, dog, you need to be betting on your character. It's a long season. It's a long runway in front of you. Don't try to win right now. You got to win when it matters most, right? That's what I look at this situation and see. I see right now James Harden and Embiid. They winning right now. And they cashing out right now, too, all them damn free throw attempts. We're going to see what happens in the postseason when all of a sudden that team that bet on itself that you can't see coming together just yet, Joy Taylor, it's going to come together. And I dare you to say a team with KD, Kyrie, champion, and now Ben Simmons along with a Curry and Aldridge needs to fear anybody. Unless the big toe comes into play.